Mina Fáilte, Le Marrakesh, Merhib for Marrakesh. 100,000 welcomes to Marrakesh, to the World Storytelling Cafe. Very privileged to be here among 100 storytellers from all over the world. It's an amazing bouquet of accents, and I'm delighted to be here today to represent Irish storytelling and storytelling from my native Cork. Hello to everybody in Cork City Radio. Can't wait to come home to you. Hello to everybody in Sheehan's World Storytelling Cottage. I know that you're diving in today. And if I make any mistakes on the threading or the weaving, I know that you are the people to put me right. So fill our comments box. We'd love that. I have amazing storytellers here today who have come to this workshop, and I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much for coming. And we're going to have some good times. It's my first time doing it in a hybrid situation, so I'm going to be trying to bring in our lovely people that are dialing in, and also we're going to be working strongly in the room. So that's a kind of a different type of workshop for myself. So when we think of stories, what do you think of? So I'm going to ask you for the first words that pop into your head. This comes from a playback theatre group that I'm involved in called Speak Out Theatre, Theatre for Transformation. So what words popcorn in your head when you think of stories? So we do a quick fire, we do a machine gun around the room. So stories.
Relaxation, listening, love.
Oh, beautiful. Relaxation and listening and lovely.
Connection and open heart.
Connection and open heart. Beautiful.
Escape.
Escape. Yes, I have that one as well, Dan. And?
A joyful mystery intrigue.
Joyful mystery intrigue. Beautiful.
Foundation.
Foundation, absolutely, you know. So they're beautiful words for stories as from storytellers, you know. And I've asked this question all week while I've been here. And some of the kids were saying other countries, that it connects us to other countries, different languages, you know. So depending on where you are. And then when I ask this question in Ireland, because I ask this question a lot in the workshops that I go to, they say tradition, and they say connection, and they say fun, you know, and session. So in a session means that it's not just storytelling, but that we have music and we have dance as well, you know. So today we're going to talk about how we give stories to one another. So I'm going to bring in the weave, story weaving. So there's the story weave where one story travels around the world, and it's so good that everybody in the world lays claim to it. So I had an experience like that when I first came to Marrakesh, where a story was told by a lovely man from Fez, and he told a story about two blue bottles, and there was a gin involved, and out of one bottle, you got everything you wanted. And out of the other bottle, when you said special words, a man jumped out and beat everybody that wasn't holding the bottle. Now, there is a town in Cork on the way to, on the Limerick Road, on the way to Mallow, and it is called Bottle Hill. 200 years ago, this town was named after that story. And all my life, I thought this was an Irish story because it's so good that everybody lays claim to it. So they did a bit of research here at World Storytelling Cafe, and they found out that this story comes from Egypt 3,000 years ago. So did it come from there? Or was it so good that they laid claim to it? So that's part of the weave. So in Ireland, we call that threading. You know, that's that I grew up, you know, hearing about the threading. And when I became you know, when I was studying therapy, they talked about the red thread, the threads that would go out and it would connect us all. So that's one kind of weaving. And then maybe if we have time, we will look at weaving a story together as well. But first, it would be nice maybe to collect some of your vast experience, because between the people that we have in this room today, we have a lot of experience, you know, about a story that you love that came from somewhere else.
Mhm.
that you'd like to lay claim to for your place?
Oh, yeah, I don't.
Oh, brilliant, Sarah.
So, at one point in my life, I lived in a house, in a farmhouse, and it looked over to a prehistoric hill,
Yeah.
an Iron Age fort going back in history. And that hill is called Cadbury Camp.
Mhm.
And Cadbury Camp was a hill where there are many stories. And one of the stories is that there are knights sleeping under the hill. And the horse has to be bought and taken down into the hill because the knight's sleeping in the circle underneath. There's one horse missing. So of course it's from Somerset, isn't it? It's from South Cadbury in Somerset. There am I.
Yeah.
There am I in South Cadbury,
Yeah.
North Cadbury, looking at South Cadbury, and that is our story. And I grow up and I find these people in Wales saying it's them.
I love it.
And my daughter gets told, oh, that's definitely Welsh.
Yeah.
But there's also the dragon lives under there. And it's not, it's not a fairy man.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing. It's not a fairy man. But it's so set in the local tradition.
Yeah.
And of course, on Midsummer,
Mm.
the magic road opens.
Yes.
And the magic road goes from South Cadbury, Cadbury Camp, to Glastonbury, the home of all Arthurian legends.
We'll all be there.
And so you have to be out there at midnight. And I have a secret as well.
Oh, I love secrets. Go on.
That's where Matthew proposed to me when
Oh.
and I said no, but that's another story.
Thank you, Sarah. So what I love about collecting and threading, so we're beginning the weaving here. What I love about that is that you get little personal bits in with the story as well, you know, and it's so lovely, isn't it? So it connects us then, not just in our heads. Let's look at that for a second, but it connects us in our hearts as well and in our spirits. And there was something quite delicious about that sharing, wasn't there? Yeah. So does anybody else have a story that they have heard? Maybe like Sarah, it might have been a story that they thought was from their place, and then another place lays claim to it. So you have
Sure,
one, Jim.
sure.
Oh, come
Okay.
and tell us.
Tell the short version.
Yeah.
So, this is a story that I knew about the Balsam Toad,
Mhm.
and he lived in the 1700s in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
And the short version of it is that there was a crisis, and so he took his disciples to a special place in the woods. They lit a special fire,
Mhm.
they said a special prayer, and the crisis was averted. And then the next generation, they didn't know the prayer, but they went to the woods and they lit the fire and everything was okay.
Mhm.
And the next generation, they didn't know how to light the fire and they didn't know the prayer, but they knew where the woods were. So that was enough. And the next generation came around and they didn't know where, and they didn't know the fire, and they didn't know the prayer, but they knew the story.
Oh,
And that was enough.
oh, I love that.
That is, so, and it's mentioned specific people that
Mm.
were living, and
Yeah.
it also comes from the Narragansett Indian Nation in the United States.
Oh, amazing.
And there's no way, I can't imagine
Yeah.
how it traveled from one to the other.
Yeah.
It obviously mentions different people, but it's the same story.
Yeah.
And it feels to me like this is something that we have inside us. It
Yeah,
doesn't
in the
necessarily
DNA.
travel,
Yeah.
but it emerges
Oh,
over and over.
you've given us another layer. My goodness, I love that. So that, yeah, that there can be stories stored inside our DNA that just pop out, you know, because there was two completely disparate people, no connection, and they came up with the same story. Oh, Jim, I love it. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. You know, so maybe we'll have one more contribution and then we move on to the next bit. So
Well, it's slightly
up here,
story.
candle, so they can see it. Yeah.
One of my favourite stories is about James V of Scotland,
Yeah.
and he became king when he was like 4 years old or something. So of course someone else had to look after the place until he was old enough. But he lived a very sheltered life because he wasn't allowed outside the castle unless there was someone with him. And in the castle, he'd get taught French and Latin, sword fencing, and all the skills that a king would need, a young prince would need. But you know, but when he was older, he wanted to find out what the outside world was like. So he would dress up in peasants' clothes and wander the lands. But one day he was set upon by a band of robbers, and there was a farmer in his cottage, and he saw what was happening, and there was like 3 robbers, and because King James had sword fencing lessons when he was younger, he was holding his own, he was doing quite well, but the farmer came out and helped him.
Yeah.
So the king, dressed up as a peasant, said to him, "Thanks very much, I need to reward you. I work at the castle, why don't you come to the castle and I'll introduce you to the king?" And of course the guy says, "No." And he says, "Yeah, come up to the castle tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I'll introduce you." So the guy goes up to the castle the next day and knocks on the door, and the peasant opens the door.
Yeah.
And he says, "Come in, come in." And the farmer looks around the big room, the big hall, and he says, "What's the king?" And the peasant said, "The king is the only one who's wearing a hat." And the farmer looks around and he says, "Well, no one's wearing a hat except me and you, and surely you're not the king." And he said, "Yes, I'm the king. What would you like for your reward?" And he said, "Well, I've always wanted my own wee farm."
Yeah.
And the king grants him some land to have his own farm,
Yeah.
and everybody was happily ever after. But that story, I've heard it told about so many different countries.
Yeah.
Where,
I think I've heard it as a Grimm story.
it might be a grim story.
Yeah,
Yeah, but in so many different countries, the same thing happened.
Yeah.
And that's what happens to be told about King James.
Oh my goodness. And it was a real king. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So I actually did not look at our start time, but I'm going to say that we started at 10:15, and I will keep going for the hour from that time. So maybe now we move on to the next bit. But before we do, how did oral tellers collect stories and news and go from one place to another? Well, they go to the square and they would meet an absolutely charming woman, and they'd meet a knowledgeable man, and they'd meet a fellow with a twinkle in his eye, and they'd take a thread from all their stories. So once upon a time, there was this magic road, and it opened at midsummer's. When it opened, it had a path to a beautiful woods, and in this woods there was a place that looked like where you might light a fire. And sitting at that place where you might light a fire, there was a man who was fallen on the ground with a hat that had fallen from his head. The person who arrived at him said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "I should bring you to the palace." And we will leave it there for a moment, and that's a thread from every story. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Because the way we remember when we're using our memory from our heart instead of we're using our memory from our intellect, it's a lot more elastic. Therefore, stories are shape shifters. So the next part of the weaving is, the way you can take a story and you can make it match your people, and you can make it match your voice. So have you taken a story from Marrakesh? Have you been here before? Or have you been here during the week and have you thought, "I'd love to tell that story," but you're not going to remember the exact sequence or the exact words because it is said in a different accent or a different rhythm to how you remember it. So even as we're telling a story, your memory is changing the rhythm, changing the clothes of the people in the story, changing the environment in which that story is happening, So that's another part of the weaving. because as they say in Ireland, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. And I'm sure not just in Ireland, you know. So like what I've just done there, taking a thread from each of your stories, is there something that you are going to be taking home with you, you know, this week? And maybe I'm going to start here. Is there something that you've heard that kind of landed in your heart? It's Charlie, isn't it?
Yeah. I only just got here yesterday,
Okay,
so
then
it's, can I pass?
I
Yeah.
will give you a pass on that, and I go
Yeah.
to Paul. So Paul,
Some different stories of
yeah,
international storytellers. I haven't quite
yeah.
connected with a Moroccan one yet, which
Yeah.
I would like to do.
Or even with the other stories, is there a gem? Is there a bit of wisdom or something that made you laugh out loud?
Yeah, I think one of Iris's animal story. Yeah, one of the,
So they can see you.
yes.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, I am
Yeah.
Paul from England. Yeah. So I was tickled late at night by one of Iris's animal stories.
Yeah.
And in terms of how the tortoise got his shell as it is,
yeah,
the
yeah.
shattered shell having been dropped by birds carrying him, trying to take them along with him. Shell falls to the ground, and he breaks it. The shell breaks, and then the other animals help tortoise put his shell back together again.
Yeah.
And that's why tortoise's shell
Is in bits.
is in bits. And
Oh, I know that now. Yeah.
And of course, tortoise
Yeah.
never talks about it, but that is the true reason why tortoise's shell is as it
I
is.
absolutely love that now, you know, and he's taken his gem and you've given it to us and you've given it to everybody out there. And with this gem now, I'm just wondering, did the tortoise and the animals in your story speak with an English accent?
It will now.
There you go. And
Of
might,
course, the tortoise has been flown all the way from Africa.
exactly,
All the way to Cumbria to
Yeah.
be dropped on a Cumbrian rock.
exactly. Oh my God, I know.
I had a tortoise in my
Yeah,
own.
so did I.
This is my tortoise.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Lived for many a year.
Oh, God, I tell you, I'd be looking forward to hearing that on the Story Road in England now, you know, and it might come out on the Story Road in Ireland as well. It's such a great example of a gem. So a gem from a story is what we're looking for. So thanks a million for that, Paul.
And it was told with great humour as well.
Yeah,
and lots
exactly.
of physical.
Yes.
The idea, because tortoise is carried on a stick by the birds.
Yeah.
He's crunching on it. He's clamped his jaws around
Yeah.
the stick.
Yeah.
And until he's so excited he can't clamp them anymore. He wants to tell about his journey.
Yeah.
And at that moment he plummets to the ground.
And did that help in the imagination when it was told with those kind of physical, you know,
Certainly.
the clamping and stuff like that? Yeah.
It's a way of holding it in my memory as well.
Absolutely. So there was, you might be able to see it out there, and I'm sorry for that, but I'm going to practice on Paul here. There was a few storytellers in Ireland when I was growing up at the old sessions, you know, and they might have told with great physicality when they were younger, as we do, you know. See how I've made us all young there, as we do, as young people. But when you get older in the body, then they might kind of just look at you and then wait and then look at you and then bring you in that way. And I don't know what it is about that, but they can seem to put the pictures from their head into yours. So if they said there was a donkey, he was old and he was patchy and he only had one tooth and it was hanging out the side of his mouth. Can you see the donkey? And you don't use anything. But then also you can talk about the turtle. And I love, you know, the way the turtle's beak kind of comes over. I love that he used his hand and it made a picture in my head as well. That's another part of weaving, you know, and in this beautiful tapestry of story that we're all involved in, you know, that kind of weaving is so important because part of the tapestry is full of gold and silver threads. Another part might have gems. Another part might have a burlap sack, you know, but each part makes this story road that we're on the most beautiful, connected, warm, loving, and all the other words that we used at the start of the program. It makes them all come to life. So thank you very much for that, Paul. That was a perfect gem. So I'm going to let you over. Okay. So, I, because this is weaving, I don't know where I'm going to be going with the next bit. So when you throw out something like that to me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this bit aside and I'm going to take up that piece of wool. And I'm going to rock with that piece of wool now. So the next piece of the weaving is, what does it mean to be in Marrakesh, right? So what's different about Marrakesh and the International Storytelling Festival here? Think back, storytellers, to when we all met. The lurgy was flying across the sky and we were all locked down and locked in our houses. And we opened the screens and none of us realized for the longest time that we had legs and arms. And I remember the first thing in my first session in Marrakesh, walking down the road, was realizing that people actually had arms and legs, It was amazing, so yeah, so Sarah.
Size.
Yes, and size,
Yeah.
absolutely. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to ask Jim to stand up here with me. So I thought Jim was the same size as me. But this was Jim. So this is Jim when I met him, Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Sarah. Absolutely. Size. So I think we're going to do this in two parts. The first is a popcorning again. So I want a sentence or a word like size, and arms and legs, about coming together. And then the second time that I go around, it's what does it mean? What does it mean to be here? What does it mean to be connecting with these people? Have we become a clan Skealta? Have we become a story family? I know the answer for myself, but I'm going to ask you. So the first part of that is Marrakesh International Storytelling Festival, word or sentence. And this time I'm going to start on this side of the room. What's it like to be here 2 days in?
Yeah, fascinating, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like this weaving, yeah.
Give me a high five for that one. Brilliant. Paul.
Constant excitement.
Yeah.
What's coming around the corner in all ways, storytelling wise,
Yeah. It's like a child of Christmas,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah,
people
Brilliant.
wise.
Yeah, lovely.
It's the mix of languages,
Mm.
because although almost everybody speaks English,
Yeah.
it's good to be able to pick up a wee bit here and there. And I'll be I mean, my French is almost non-existent,
Yeah.
but from the last time I was here, and this time I picked up a bit more French.
Yeah.
Whereas I've been to France a few times and
Yeah.
never spoke a word in French, but here I'm trying,
Oh my God.
and also a woman, sorry, a guy told a story in Arabic the other day there, and it was the one about the hat maker and the monkeys.
Yeah.
You all know that one. And I knew exactly what
Yeah.
he said, well, by his actions.
Yes.
I didn't understand a word of what he said.
Yeah. That was like me and
But-
Blue Bottles. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know,
So-
I knew he was the monkey and
Yeah.
taking the hat and throwing
And
it.
throwing it away.
I know that
I know
story.
that story.
Yeah.
Donald, can I just say your English has come on as that's a slang between the Celtic cousins,
Yeah.
the Irish and the Scots.
Awfully.
Oh no, please don't. I think your accent is beautiful. I love it. I love the Scots accent.
Yeah, sorry, Jimmy.
So Jimmy, or so Jimmy,
Jimmy.
you got me back. You got me back. Jim Earl.
Well, I was gonna say languages, but I realized what's been most exciting about that is stories being told by two people in two different languages at the same time.
Tandems, yeah.
And I've had that experience in the schools.
Yeah.
I've seen it out here. I've felt it.
Yeah.
And I've recognized stories when I don't recognize the language,
Yeah.
but the joy of telling a story with someone else
Yeah.
who's speaking a language you don't know
Yeah.
is really, it's
Yeah.
been wonderful.
So, Jim, one of the things that the tellers have been saying this year is that the young volunteers have all become storytellers.
Mhm.
So when we first came, they were quite shy and they didn't have the art of telling.
Yeah.
But now when you're telling, it's amazing because you tell something and you put your storytelling style into it, and then they're telling it and you can see them putting their storytelling style into it, and it might not be the same style.
That's right. Oh,
It might have changed the
my
outcome.
experience, it
Yeah.
hasn't been. And that's
Exactly.
been wonderful.
And that's been wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim and Sarah. You told the size. Do you have another popcorn?
Well, just open hearts.
Open hearts, definitely.
Open hearts is everywhere.
Yeah,
Everybody opens their hearts and shares.
yeah.
And
So
that's-
for me, one of the biggest things has been the birth of an organization called Mad for Road, MFR for short. And we've gone to one another's storytelling homes and we've rubbed out the border between Scotland, Wales and Ireland. You know, our next session will be in Kilkenny and our last session was in Birmingham. And it's a real peer meeting of storytellers. You know, it's storytellers who meet in the heart and the soul, and we always have a great laugh. That's the most important thing. And then we share the learning, a little bit like what we're doing today, you know. So that's lovely. And then if you could put a weave forward. So weaving is not just about looking back at the beautiful cloth, but it's also about looking forward. So do you see yourself coming back to the Marrakesh International Storytelling Festival? Will they be able to keep you away with big sticks? It's really the question I should be asking, you know. And what would you what would you like more of? You know, or what would you like to bring from your place that in this time there hasn't been space for yet? Because it's so yummy, it's so rich that we very rarely take a minute to think, what would I like more of, or what would I like to bring? So do you want to ruminate on that one, or will we actually share now? Is there stuff bubbling up?
I've got something right away.
Oh, come up here. Oh, actually, yeah, do come up here because
Yeah.
the other camera is panicking.
And I'm going to start with a little critique
Okay.
because that's what made me realize what I want more of and what I'm ready to do.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the critique is the focus on the mad storytelling it takes to win the Guinness Book of World Records.
Mm-hmm.
And it has made
Elfana and this thing that we're trying to achieve
Yes.
together, you know. So, but I hear that you want more of it.
Yeah.
And I want more of it. So maybe we go for a lunch together.
That's
That's it, you know, everybody welcome. So we've also discovered that Aya, is that the name of the cafe? Ayat, yes, is a wonderful
Ayat.
place. I want to give them a shout out. They're feeding the storytellers best chicken sandwich ever, very near here, you know. So yeah, so we might see you there. So thank you. That was a great combination. Anybody else kind of, you know, maybe we can also celebrate what we love, like, you know, in the wanting more of, you know. So is there more of something, you know, I would like to have all my sleep behind me before I get there.
That's
So I don't have to
possible,
sleep.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, you know. And I suppose I at this juncture as well, I want to really thank James McIntyre and the Irish Consulate in Marrakesh and Teresa Sweeney for turning up, you know, because that was amazing for the Irish American session. And it's really good of the Marrakesh International Storytelling Festival to leave us have this bonding session every year. So it's become like a cornerstone now of the festival, where you know the Irish American session is going to happen. You know there's going to be a secret party that everybody knows about. And you know that it's going to be a highlight. It's lovely, you know. And so I don't necessarily want more of it because it's perfect. It's the perfect slice in the Marrakesh International Storytelling Festival. But I have heard, and I'm going to throw it out there now to you guys, some people saying they'd like more schools. They'd like to do more work with the schools at Marrakesh.
Yeah.
So Paul, would you like to talk about that? And then I have Donald, you came in strongly on that as well.
Well, yes, certainly. I mean, I think it'd be lovely for perhaps more of us to go out to the schools, even to observe and see.
Yes.
For me, as a sort of a relative newbie storyteller,
Yeah.
that chance to observe you working in the schools as
Yeah.
a different way to how I might work in my local school would
Yeah.
be fantastic.
Absolutely.
And I think actually, perhaps just jumping aside slightly, another wish for me would be, again, as a sort of relative newbie,
Yeah.
would be perhaps some fantastic masterclasses, and in which this is one in a way, in a weaving sort of way, but perhaps some further ones in terms of how to develop
Yeah.
your storytelling, you know, in not quite explicitly so, because it's all happening anyway.
Yeah.
Would be a nice
Absolutely. And I
on a wish
and I'm
list of
sure-
such experience.
Yeah, and I'm
storytellers
sure
yourselves.
the other storytellers would love to be on the other end of that going, I'd love to share this with you, you know, because like in Ireland, I was very lucky to have some very wise tellers pour wisdom in my head as I was growing up, you know. So I love sharing that stuff. I know Sarah does. Jim is amazing. I go to Jim's session every second Tuesday on Zoom. Some insights into Scottish telling and how it's connecting, you know, and how those stories connect us and stuff. So absolutely what you say, you know, is something I think that we both enjoy, you know, kind of that you know, that would come from all sides. So thank you for that. And I'm going to ask Talent to come up next. And after this, we move on to a bit of wisdom. He's losing plastic, is he?
Right.
So,
It's falling off me.
yeah. So Donald, you said you had something else that you like as well.
Yeah, and it was, you mentioned that it was, you must have been looking into my head, because you mentioned that Cape to Cork.
Yeah,
Now, if it wasn't for the Marrakesh, the festival in Marrakesh,
yeah.
I probably wouldn't have been.
Yeah,
You know, there's been connections made,
yeah,
you know, and people are
Yeah.
going to, you know, I'm going to Canada. Oh yeah, you're going to Canada, come here. You're going to America, you're going to Australia. You know, and people are getting invited by other storytellers. And
Yeah.
else, just like I'm going to Belfast just for a long weekend next month. So said to Liz Weir, I'm coming over to Belfast. Oh, right, okay, right.
Yeah.
Let's sit down and talk, and I'll tell you where to go, and
Yeah,
you can come and, do
Yeah.
this with me, and,
yeah,
so it's, it's brought us, Zoom brought us together.
Yeah.
It's, as we were saying, we were all the same height, and, the
Yeah.
only thing about meeting each other in person is you've got to wear your trousers.
yeah.
We don't want to know that. We really don't want to know that.
But that's it. Zoom brought us together, but now, the Marrakesh Festival has brought us together physically,
Yeah,
and then we're branching out and we're going to visit each other,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
and that's what's wonderful about it.
It
The,
is.
the people that we've met,
Yeah,
it's just.
Places. Lots of people can't meet and go places, but we can support each other.
yeah,
I don't see Paulina. I haven't seen her since the last festival, but I can support her everywhere she goes on social media. I can see what she does. I can learn from what she's doing. We don't have to go to places. I have been to Cork and I've met people there,
mhm,
and so I can support them
yeah,
because I can't go everywhere. I don't have vast sums of money to go.
Agreed.
There's no way I can go
Yeah.
to America. It's not going to be possible, but we can support,
Yeah.
and those bridges that we can make between people, and that is just so beautiful. Those little bridges, and I must say that my daughter hasn't been to Ireland,
yeah.
but she wears her Passage West socks.
Passage West creates your socks are being worn in England.
Stories are being made.
Very good. So now, we've had some lovely bits where I've gathered things in, and because it's an hour and a half session, we have until 11:15 because we started a quarter of an hour late. So I'm going to start making stories with you now, and I'm blessed amongst men because Sarah has to go at 11 o'clock to Elfana. So, so now we're going to start making a story together. Are you ready? Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to ask you to stand up so that we can just change the space. And we've been in our heads a little bit, but we've been in our hearts and our spirits as well. So I'm going to ask you to shake and turn around and get it out of your bodies. And then as we're walking, so let's have a little walk in circles. Let's have a little walk and think of how you got up out of bed this morning. And walk like that. And then think of storytelling and the square in Elfana and the sun shining and walk like that. And then when you're ready, if you could land somewhere, you can land in the same seat or you can land in a different seat. I have to land in the same seat because I have to say hello to everybody in Ireland. I hope you're walking around. And everywhere else as well, everywhere else that's joining in today. And I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath to uncross everything. So no hands crossed, no legs crossed. And you can either look at the floor or close your eyes, up to you. But I want you to come inside yourself, into your internal world. And in this place, allow a character to form. Don't change the character. If a character has walked into your imagination, they are there for a reason. Trust that. Now freeze that character. In your internal world, you have full control. Walk up to your character. Walk all the way around your character. Look at their face. How are they feeling? How do you know? How do you know how they're feeling? What color are their eyes? When you look into their eyes, see the qualities of this person. When this person walks into a room, How are you feeling? What do they put into the room? What makes this person? Would you like to be friends with this person? Why? Why would you like to be or not to be friends with this person? Now that you know the qualities of this person, see what they're wearing in detail, from their feet to their head. What do their clothes tell you about this person? Finally, name that person. Name the person. And when you're ready, and please do this slowly, allow your eyes to come across the floor, come back into our story circle. And I will ask you for the top one or two qualities of your person. So without me going around in a circle now, because we've become a family, come in with the quality. Just come in. Try and stay in the dream and quiet space if you can.
Do you want to tell us who the character is?
No,
Or
just
the
to the qualities. Because we're going to weave a character from all of yours. And I'm so happy you asked that question, Donald, because when I'm doing this work, oftentimes two stories happen. One is the Banfassa story, that is just what's happening inside of me. And the second is the story that we make together. So I get two stories out of this kind of work, you know. So maybe the qualities of your character:
Punctual.
punctual,
H-W.
hates to be late, beautiful, Paul,
Wisdom.
wisdom, wise, punctual and wise. Charlie:
Dignified and fearsome.
oh, dignified and fearsome. Someone has come into my head. Someone I know with those qualities, beautiful. Thank you. So dignified and fearsome.
Determined.
Determined, yeah, very good.
Patient and content.
Patient and content, beautiful, you know. So now our new character will have all of these qualities that have just been given to us. And I want to know physically what my new character will be like. So is this new character, and I'm just going to do the magic point, is this new character a man or a woman?
A boy.
A boy. So it's a boy. How old is the boy?
13, 14.
13, 14. Can you name this beautiful boy who's dignified and patient and
Kyle.
Kyle and determined? Lovely. Okay, so he's Kyle. Now, now that we have a Kyle and he's 13, how tall is Kyle, Paul?
He's actually quite tall for his age.
Yeah.
He's 5'2".
5'2" for his age. Love it. Okay. So, and what color is his hair?
Lovely reddish brown.
A reddish brown. And how does he wear it?
And he's a bit long. A
No.
bit long down to his shoulders. He's feeling that's how he wants to be different from the other boys in the class.
Yeah. And what color is his eyes?
They're green.
Green. Green and red hair. He wears it long. He's a bit different from the other boys in his class, you know. So I'm going to say to you, how does he get on in his class?
He walks to a different drum.
Yeah.
And some people really like him and others don't.
So he splits the class.
Yeah.
He's Marmite. You love him or you hate him. I love it. I love it. Thank you very much. You know, would you be his friend? Yes. Yeah. Okay. And what would make him someone you'd like to be friends with?
Because those wonderful traits of being different, being outside,
Yeah.
because we're both outside.
Yeah.
Who doesn't mind having a friend who's feeling at that age?
Yes. That would be brilliant, you know. So now he's beginning to coalesce between us, isn't he? You know, this beautiful boy. Did we name him? Kyle. Yeah, just checking. So his name is Kyle, and now we're going to open a door, and we're going to ask Kyle politely to stand outside the door. There's a beautiful chair there for him to sit down. He's going to wait because he wants to be part of this story. And we close the door on Kyle. That means that we have a completely clear internal world now. And I'm going to ask you once more to uncross everything, to allow your eyes to go to the floor or to close them, up to you, to open up your internal world and see a place. Is this place inside? Is it outside? What is the temperature here? Are there any smells here? What sounds can you hear? If you took off your shoes and your socks and you walked on the ground of this place, what would you feel through the sensitive soles of your feet? Are there other creatures here? Are the walls or the horizons far away or near to you? Is the ceiling or the sky high above your head or near to you? Name this place. Name this place. Even if it exists, name it something else, because it will become something else. As you stand here, are you comfortable? Or is there something in this place that makes you excited or nervous? And when you're ready, cast your eyes to the floor, coming back slowly. Allow your eyes to ride across the floor until we're back in the circle together. Is this place inside or outside, Charlie?
Well, I guess a bit inside, but I'm also, I feel very aware of a particular place.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. So we're going to just take, even though the place for you is very concrete in your mind's eye, we're going to now make a different place using some of your elements.
yeah.
And one of the elements is inside, but I get the sense that you're kind of looking outside as well.
Yeah.
So it's inside, but you're looking out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Love it. So, and I'm going to ask Paul, how comfortable is it here?
It's comfortable. It's a place you know well.
Yeah.
There's ease in it.
Yeah. So you feel at ease in it. So tell me what a comfortable place is like. Is there seats?
It's got friends within it. It's got
Ooh.
people you know around it.
Yeah.
You know your way around it very well.
Yeah.
It's the right temperature. It's not too hot. It's not too cold.
Mm.
You can move at a speed you'd like to within it.
Yeah,
You've
so
got
you've
your
got
own
space,
favorite
yeah.
space, so the
Yeah.
speed to move at allows you to do it.
Lovely. And then I'm going to ask what's the soundscape here? What can you hear?
And you hear a lot of voices,
Yeah.
talking, laughing, slight argument, like somewhere, and the noise of an engine throbbing away,
Yeah.
and some seagulls.
And some seagulls. Love it. Okay. There are smells here, very evocative. What are the smells?
The smells are the hay and the corn that are drying beside you,
Ooh.
and the smells of the animals that live there with you.
Yeah.
And it's a rich,
Earthy.
earthy and pungent, but in a pleasant way. Rich.
Love it. Okay. You know, and Sarah, if you were to name this place, what would you name this place? Not the place that you had, but this place. The home of friendship, the home of friendship. So this is friendship home. I love it. So now we open the door, friendship home, and out from the door comes Kyle with his beautiful hair and his twinkling green eyes. And he's fascinated to be in this place because he's never been here before. And he knows that he's here for a reason. And the reason can be magical, mystical, logical, practical. But he's here for a reason. And he mightn't know it yet. So when he steps in, even though it's a very comfortable and comforting place, and there seems to be people at ease to the point where they can have slight arguments with one another, even though they're that easeful, he knows that he's here on a mission. What is that mission, Sarah?
He's going on a journey.
He's going to go on a journey. And the reason he's going on that journey is
he has to meet someone important, but he doesn't know who they are.
he doesn't know who they are yet, you know? So he doesn't know who they are yet, but now he has a mission to go and meet these people. Is he meeting the people in this place, or does he have to go somewhere to meet that person?
He's going somewhere to meet that person.
Can you tell me where?
He's going to an island.
An island. Okay.
Yes.
And now, Paul, he's going to get to this place in a way that he's never traveled. He's never traveled like this before. And he gets a special skill, or he gets a special power that's not his. So he uses it sparingly, because if he uses it, it exhausts his batteries. So he needs a way of turning this skill or power on, and he needs a way of turning it off, you know? So tell me the power. What power has he to get himself to an island?
It's got a power of reading other people's minds, so he knows what they're thinking and where they're going.
Yeah.
So he can read. Because he's at sea, so he's going to a harbour to find them.
Okay, we won't run down the story yet because yeah, 'cause
the minds of the
Ex-
sailors.
I love it. Okay, now how does he turn it on and how does he turn it off?
He has a ring on
Yeah.
his finger which he'll rub,
Yeah,
and that will turn it on
and off.
and off.
I love it. Amazing. Okay, so now he has his mission. He knows where he's going. He doesn't know who he has to meet yet, but he needs to know why. Why is he on this mission? What will happen if he doesn't meet that?
Well, he knows that he's supposed to get a treasure.
Yeah,
So he doesn't exactly know what the treasure is.
Yeah.
But he knows that's his purpose is to get the treasure and bring it back.
Okay, so this person has the treasure
Yeah,
and he needs to bring it back.
yeah.
And he doesn't know what the treasure is, and he doesn't know the name of the man, but he can read minds. So the nearer he gets to the person that holds the treasure, the easier it will be to know what's going on in his mind. Now, you can imagine if there's 10 people and you're listening to their thoughts. Have you ever listened to your own thoughts? Have they ever flown around the place? Did I turn the iron off? Oh, to such and such an Excel sheet. I'm going to tell this story. So the way they whip around in one mind. Can you imagine if you're reading 10 minds and you've never read minds before, how exhausting it could be, you know? So he's rubbing his ring like a lunatic, I'd say, let me listen, you know? And he finds the boy that he's supposed to follow, because the boy that he's supposed to follow is going, where is he? Where is he? We have to go. We'll be too late to get to the island. Though that's the voice that he hears in his head, and he looks around to see who that voice belongs to, and his eyes land on this boy or girl. I don't know. It could be a boy or it could be a girl. So I'm going to go into the middle this stage, because we started on that side and we started on that side. So I'm going to go to you, Donald. So is having these thoughts?
Sorry?
Who's having these thoughts of, oh my God, we will be too late? So he's looking around, he's rubbing his ring.
And he's reading the mind of a woman
A woman,
in the cafe
okay,
who is having a heated discussion with a man and you can see in this woman's mind that she doesn't think that the man is telling her the truth.
Oh,
Imagine that, a man not telling a woman the truth.
I know. It's hardly believable. So he reads her mind and she's kind of focused on the man. And, you know, they're having a heated discussion and he wants to tell her that he is the one. And he's kind of shy, you know, and he walks to a different drum. So how does he make contact with the woman and charm her into knowing that he's telling the truth?
How delicious. He gets a lovely cup of tea and brings it closer to her and pretends to strip and spills it all over himself.
And now the woman is looking at him.
That's right.
And the argument with the man is kind of forgotten,
Yes.
you know, and he says, there is little time. And she's like, are you reading my mind, you know? And
And he says, even less than you know.
even less than you know. And he takes her by the hand and she brings him.
And she brings him out the door and over to the ducks.
Over to the
Docks.
the docklands where the boats are. Oh, love it. Okay. So now they're going for the island and something or someone or some force of nature distracts him from the island and from getting there for this treasure. So who or what distracts him and makes him forget this important quest that he's on? There.
Well, this tells the entire story. So I think we have a powerful man
Okay.
who seems to have more force and more money than the island. So is it an illusion that this person who suddenly appeared on the horizon does have the money that he says he has? And so will make that man's future stronger and better, and the partnership that he wants to go into stronger and better, and a future for them. Or is it a cloud of castles in the sky
Mhm.
and it's built on nothing, and it would just be a torturous journey into May?
Okay. So I'm going to ask you some questions about this rich man. He's reading minds now. Remember, he's rubbing his ring. And he reads the mind of this man who appears to be, you know, beautiful and strong and wealthy and can do anything, you know. And the man is thinking to himself, I'd like to start something that this boy who walks to the beat of a different drum would love to be involved in.
Mm.
So what is he thinking about?
Theatre company.
A theatre company.
Uh-huh.
So he thinks, I'm going to start a theatre company and I would love somebody unusual, maybe around 13 with red hair. I'd love somebody like that to be in
Young
it.
Chanel.
Yeah, you know, I might even send him to theatre college where he would meet loads of people like himself and he would find his tribe.
Yeah.
So he's thinking like that. And of course, Kyle is distracted and he says, I'm a 13-year-old boy. I like the theatre. I would love to meet these people that I could be in a tribe with. And then he thinks to himself, but he wants a red-haired boy. And he thinks to himself, if I can mind read, can other people mind read? And the answer is no. So the man can't mind read him. And he knows this because when you're a mind reader, you know if that's the case or not. So he puts it down as coincidence. And then someone or something or some force of nature reminds him that there's a very special mission on the go at the moment and that everything else has to go out the window, and they refocus him on getting to the island. So what could distract him
from his dream job where he could be in a theatre company with his tribe.
The woman, so
Yeah, so the woman, how does she refocus him?
she just looks at him.
So with her eyes, she goes, come, come, you know, and he says, okay, I come back to that man. I find him with my magical ring, and they go to the island. When they get to the island, he can sense the person who is holding the treasure. What does he sense? What does he sense?
He senses that this person's been waiting for somebody with red hair.
In a good way or a bad way? You want to kill him or convert him?
Well, it's both good and a bad way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this person knows that there's power in this treasure.
Yeah. So now that he's there, Paul, now that their minds have connected, this man can tell what he's thinking a little bit, not as much as Kyle can tell his thoughts, but he knows he can read him a bit. He knew there was a redhead child coming. He knew that it would be dangerous to him, and now he feels Kyle coming on the island. You know, so how are they going to meet? That's what you're going to tell us.
So Kyle and the woman with him have come on a small boat to the smallest harbour on the island. When they come, somehow Kyle has a premonition that they should come at night.
Yeah.
So they land. Take lodgings in a small cottage by the dock. And the next morning walk out for the first time. And this man with the treasure
Yeah.
is in the middle of the square holding court to other men around him.
Oh, yeah.
And so Kyle and the woman suddenly appear in the middle of this circle of others gathered around. And that's suddenly the focus, the man's attention. So it's an open square, and suddenly they are very outnumbered as well.
Yeah.
By the group around.
Yeah. So now they're outnumbered, and Kyle's power is mind reading. Can he do anything else to the minds of the people that have outnumbered them?
Well, I can read the mind state, because the man is giving orders
Mm.
to all the other men, and they're sending them to a farm,
Yeah.
and they've got to go to that farm, and they've got to dig. Start digging and digging, digging until they find something.
The treasure?
Could be.
Well, I need to know.
Yeah.
For the next bit of the
Yes.
story. So this is what I need to know. Is Kyle sending them out there to dig to keep them busy? Or is the man sending them out there to dig the treasure to take it away, to hide it,
To dig to try and find the treasure.
to find the treasure?
Yeah.
Okay, now to everybody, Jim, I'm coming to you, okay? But to everybody in the room, we have to come to an end of this story. It has to be a resolution of sorts, you know? So it can be a resolution that's the end of a chapter, or it can be a resolution that's the end, dun, 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 dun. But we cannot say the words, the end, and we cannot, you know, communicate that it's the end in those terms. It just has to be lovely and resolved. So everybody have a think. And Jim, I'm coming to you first, and you might need help, but you might be able to put a bow on this for us.
As he's standing there and watching this man send his men out, a turtle crawls across the square. And he suddenly knows, turtle knows where the treasure is.
I thought you were going to say the turkey was the treasure.
And he realizes it wasn't the man he was supposed to meet, but the turtle.
And is that the end?
Yes.
Very good. So
Do you know, I missed the end. Can you just?
Oh,
read it?
yes, I'm sorry.
The
So,
turtle, I had the turtle.
so he realizes through his power that the turtle actually knows where the treasure is. And he was not supposed to meet the man, he was supposed to meet the turtle.
that's it. Okay. So now, have we got a story? Yeah. And would you tell that story? And I think I'm going to end this weaving by telling the story. And then if somebody would like to tell the story back, that can be the end of our weaving, because I think it's lovely to weave out, weave in, you know. So, and if you want to change details, so everything we spoke about this morning, about how when you hear a story, you hear it differently to the way it's being told, and you might tell it differently. All of those things are welcome. Okay, and here's the story. Once upon a time, fado, a long time ago, in the time outside time, there was a beautiful young boy. He was tall for his age, about 5'2", and he had red hair that was so luscious and so shiny that he did not want to cut it. And everybody put pressure on him to cut his hair. He said, "No, I love my hair." And he left it grow long. And with his beautiful green eyes, he made a very striking figure. This boy was a boy that walked to his own drum. He didn't march to his own drum, he walked. He had a lovely, slow, comfortable pace, and he split everybody that he met, because some people who liked a slow pace, who liked his slow smile and the way it would light up his face when they wanted to be with him and to walk behind him, but others were like, "Look at his hair," and they couldn't get over it, and they couldn't understand why he wouldn't cut his hair in this place where boys had short hair. One day, on one of his beautiful rambles, he saw a door, and the door kind of hypnotized him. It was like one of the Moroccan doors that you see around this place. And he started to sidle up towards it. And as he went towards it, the door just clicked open and he walked in. And there was this beautiful place. It had white walls and it had a faraway ceiling. It had the sense of spaciousness. There was loads of peoples there, and you could hear the burbling of voices, and even once or twice voices raised in, you know, kind of not anger, but in joshing one another. A song might break out here and there, and he thought, "This place is lovely. I kind of like this place. I think I'd like the people here." And then he was playing with his ring, which was his nervous habit. But in this place, when he rubbed his ring, he realized that he had gotten a special power, that he could hear the words and the what was going on in people's heads, and it was too much, and he rubbed his ring again and it went away. And then for fun, he rubbed it again because it was a new power and it was great fun. And he heard a woman saying, "There is not much time. There's not much time to bring the treasure back." And he looked around the room and he saw her in a heated discussion with a man who was taking her attention when she needed to be doing this. And he thought, "How do I break in on that?" And as was his lovely way, he bought a cup of tea. And when he was walking past her, he pretended to trip, and the tea went down all over him, and everybody looked at him. And he brought his slow smile, and everybody smiled at him. And the woman said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "I'm fine, but there's little time." She said, "Are you reading my mind?" And he said, "Less than you know, less than you know." And she caught him by the hand and she brought him to the door. And they went out and he could see the jetty and he could see the ships bobbing there. And as they went towards the boat, he knew her boat straight away because it looked like her, elegant and efficient. And she hopped into the boat and he hopped in after her. Then he saw a man standing there on the pier, and the man was in a suit, and he was obviously rich and affluent. And he was kind of saying, I need a break from this corporate life. I need a break from business. And I'd love to start a theatre company. And I'd love young, vibrant people in it, perhaps a young man with long red hair. And as he looked, their eyes locked. And the man said, who are you? And just at that moment, the woman looked into Kyle's eyes and she said, we have a job. We have a job. And he said, later, my friend, later. And then they sailed. They sailed to this island, and there was 2 or 3 jetties, and they went in to the small jetty and pulled up. And it was a long and tiring day, and he was exhausted from the ring. And they went to a little cottage, and they had a lovely sleep. And the next day they found the square where the man was waiting. Kyle knew he was waiting for him. He was waiting for the red-headed boy, and at all accounts he must stop him. And their eyes locked, and all of his henchmen lined up next to him. And Kyle rubbed his ring, and he said, you must go and dig. You must go and dig in the farm. And the men, they just started to fall back, and they started to march away. And there was a poor farmer who needed help. And all day long, they just dug in his fields. He was very grateful, and he couldn't understand why they did it. And they couldn't understand why they did it. So if we bring our attention back to the square, what happened with that man who must stop the red-headed boy? The red-headed boy stopped him in his tracks by thinking that his feet were stuck to the ground. And as he was stuck to the ground, a turtle made its slow walk past the man. And Kyle knew, this is the one I have to meet. This one knows where the treasure is. Did we make a great story?
Yeah.
Yay, well done, lad. Would anybody like to tell it? Because we have the luxury of 15 minutes if you would like to tell it.
Don't you have to tell it yet?
Yeah,
I really want to let it sit.
okay.
Yeah.
I would like.
That happens often.
Yeah.
So because I use this mechanism a lot, you know, when the story comes, I like to give it a first telling.
Yes.
To
Yeah.
put it in my belly, but a lot of people like to let it sit, you know, so.
Yeah, because we spoke about different styles and
Yeah,
all the way. No two people
tell the same way.
tell it. It's like that's a folk singing as well, and
Yeah,
you know, and you hear people saying, "Oh, that's not a sign of leaving of Liverpool,"
mhm.
and somebody will say, "That's not how it goes." No, it's not. It actually goes like and say, "Well, if everybody sang it the same,
Yeah,
you just need one person to sing it.
yeah,
It would be over."
yeah,
And it's the
exactly.
same with stories.
Yeah,
If everybody told the story exactly the same way,
yeah,
then you only need one person to tell it
absolutely.
once
Yeah, you know,
and be finished. It'd be over. So
absolutely,
you
completely.
know, so that's
Lovely.
why I would like to sit on that and
Wise, Donald.
you know
Yeah, wise to sit on the story.
get my own.
So the last question, as we leave, the Kesh Dolish, the wise question, the last question is who owns the story? The room owns the story. This story is between us and all of the first stories, all of the tribes of the world. This is, you know, kind of, no one owned it, a story, you know, owned it. That's very Irish. No one owned a story. You know, the stories flew into the mouth of the people that needed to tell them. So let this story go forth and let it fill whose ever heart needs to hear it. Kyle, the boy who marches to his own drum. Shinne our scale, that is our story. Yeah. Oh, hello. Lovely to see you. I'm very full of happiness now because we made a gorgeous story together.
I'm sorry I ran out.
Yeah.
My sister has been under threat of
Okay,
losing,
just,
losing her job,
yeah.
and she has her.
This is not being going out on the internet, is it?
It's just, it came back into the room.
Okay.
It's lovely.
Oh, sorry, sorry, Sarah. I didn't mean to stop you. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't going out to the,
To the world.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I thought you had to be in.
No, I've been